I've helped over 10 different sports coaches across a bunch of different sports hit over $30,000 a month in their online sports coaching business. And in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the step-by-step process of what you need in order to actually make $30,000 a month coaching athletes online. If this is your first time here, my name is Nick. I run an online consulting company helping sports coaches achieve time and financial freedom through the online mentorship model, which I'm going to walk you through today. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I got an absolute banger for you guys. Let's jump right into it. Now, for a little bit of context, this is going to be a pretty tactical video where I'm going to give you guys, the pillars of the online mentorship model, the components of each of those pillars, and then examples, okay? And this is after working with literally hundreds of sports coaches across a bunch of different sports. I've seen a bunch of different things. This is what we see working right now in 2026. So get out your pen, get out your paper, take a bunch of notes. Let's jump right into it, okay? So the first thing we need to understand is that there are really 5 pillars to making this work, okay? The first thing that we need to understand, everything revolves around the offer, okay? There's been a lot of talk around the offer in like the online business space. In this case in particular, we are going to talk about the offer in the sense that it needs to be outcome-based. It needs to be $3,000 plus, and I'll explain why. You need to have a mentorship offer, right? It cannot be like a PDF or anything like that. I promise you in 2026, as I'm filming this video right now, that does not work. And you need to try and help one athlete specifically, okay? So the biggest mistakes that people make are in the offer. Everything else is fairly simple. Like I see a lot of people who are really good at making content and maybe they have like a sales background, they can get people into their program. But if you get the offer wrong, nothing else is going to matter, okay? So outcome-based, right? The reason why we want it to be outcome-based, where we are going to help somebody achieve a specific outcome, and that doesn't mean you're guaranteeing, like let's say I have here in the example, become D1 prospects, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteeing they're going to get a D1 offer, although to be fair, I do have clients who are in the recruiting space who guarantee getting an offer and they can charge $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for their program because of how big that outcome is. What this is gonna allow you to do is detach the value that you're providing from the time that you're giving. If you're watching this and you're like an in-person sports coach and you're like, how could I ever make $30,000 a month? It's because you're only thinking with what your current model is right now. This is a different model, okay? And we're detaching the value that you're providing by promising an outcome, okay? Then we need a $3,000 plus price point. The reason why is because the more money you charge, the number one, the less athletes you need in order to make $30,000 a month, right? You only need 10, assuming that you don't re-sign anybody, which the probability of that is basically 0. But let's just say for the sake of the argument, you need 10 new athletes per month at a $3,000 price point. If you start getting into 20 athletes a month, you need a really big following, you probably need a bigger team, right? It starts to get a little bit more complicated. Not saying that you can't do that, it just requires you to have a more established, well-run machine. I'm talking to somebody who wants to make $30,000 a month with basically no team or maybe one team member. Okay, this is exactly how to do it. $3,000 price point plus, outcome-based, needs to be mentorship, right? Needs to be mentorship. Ask yourself this question. If you had access to you when you were 16 years old, you right now, how much differently would your career have gone? If the answer is not way different, then you're probably a terrible coach, okay? But if you're watching this video, you're probably a pretty good coach. Your career probably would have gone way differently. Who knows where that would have landed you? What is that worth, okay? Can't put a price tag on it. And then you want to go after one athlete. One of the biggest problems that I see sports coaches, one of the biggest mistakes that I see them make is they're so helpful, right? That's why you got into coaching, because you want to give back, right? Because you really want to help people. The problem is when you're trying to help everybody, you end up helping nobody, okay? And so we want to optimize our entire program around one specific type of athlete. And when I get into the example here, it'll make sense, okay? So for my offer, if I was to restart, and I pretty much just gave you like, hey, if I was to restart and be like, hey, I don't want to help sports coaches anymore. I just want to show you guys like, hey, I still got it, like Unk still got it. This is exactly what I would do. $3,000 program for 6 months, right? I would mentor high school baseball hitters. I was Division I shortstop. I was pretty good. I set a school home run record. I hit 17 bombs in a single year. I was a pretty good player myself, okay? So I would mentor high school baseball hitters and I would help them become D1 prospects, right? Because essentially the clients that get the best results in my program typically, right? Typically, they'll help a younger version of themselves. And so I would just target 16-year-old Nick and give him all the information, support, guidance, and resources that he needed in order to take the next step in his career, right? Because there were a couple things that I really needed to hear when I was 16 that if I could go back, now I'm 28, right? If I could go back and give that advice to that kid, his career would have gone so much different, right? So that's my example of the offer, okay? It'd be a $3K program for 6 months, helping high school baseball hitters become D1 prospects. I'd probably even niche down even more and just do infielders and call the program the complete infielder, right? If you're watching this right now, you have a similar background to me, you could take that, thank me later. Okay, program. A lot of people can't conceptualize the idea of an online coaching program, so let me learn you, okay? Let me educate you. A lot of people, when they think of a program, all they're thinking about is lessons. I need to be there in person to give value. If you're stuck in that mindset, then this will never work for you, okay? But if you can expand your mindset a little bit and think a little bit bigger and ask yourself, how, if I couldn't see this person one-on-one directly, put my hands on them, right? How would I give value? That opens up a completely different world for you, right? So just ask yourself a better question. How could I give that value, okay? Now, when it comes to the program, what we've seen work best is having a daily training plan. Now, what a daily training plan is gonna look like is it could be like a weight room routine, it could be a skill routine, it could be a journal entry, but what you're trying to give them is a daily step-by-step plan that they need to follow, because at the end of the day, development happens in consistency. It doesn't happen 1 hour per week. So the fact, if you're still anchored on the fact that in-person lessons are better than online, like to me, it's absolutely mind-blowing, but I've been exposed to online training for the last decade, so to me, it's not a big deal. To you, this might be the first time you're ever hearing about it, right? So with that being said, we want a daily training plan because development happens in consistency, okay? Then from there, we want a weekly check-in form. We want to hold them accountable. There are a handful of things that you could track depending on the coach, things like that. These are all things that we help our clients with inside of our program, Remote Training University. You can check out the link in the description if you want to learn more about it. But the weekly check-ins are where we're gonna, give athletes homework. We're gonna hold them accountable, make sure they're actually doing their plan, okay? Then a lot of people will ask too, how do I hold my athletes accountable with the daily training plan? I'll get into the online coaching software when we get to the systems part, but these softwares will track compliance to the program. So if the athlete's not actually following the program and logging their workouts, you'll be able to know, right? How much better is that than what you're doing right now? Way better, exactly, okay? Then we want to do video analysis. The benefit of using the internet and the benefit with modern day technology is with these online coaching softwares, we can do video analysis with these athletes, draw on the screen. Like let's say you're a basketball coach, for example, you want to pull up game film, you want to pull up huddle, right? You could show them like, hey, I'm running the pick and roll like this, boom, 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 boom. Like you should have went here, or here are your options. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. If I got to spell it out for you like that step by step, then maybe this isn't for you, okay? But video analysis, right? Basically we're breaking down what's happening in a game or in a practice or whatever it is, okay? Communication cadence. So you want to have ongoing texting and calls, right? Some of your athletes are going to want to text you every single day. They're never going to want to get on a call. Some of your athletes are going to want to get on a call here and there, right? Some of them are literally going to reach out to you once every 2 weeks just to, like for a lifeline, right? At the end of the day, everybody needs support differently. Everybody is looking for a different level of support. So we're going to give them a wide range of support that they can tap into where it comes to the daily training plan. You can even create like a video training library for them where you explain concepts more in depth. You can communicate with these athletes on like a regular cadence. One of the biggest lessons, actually, one of my clients, he had like 10 online clients and he's like, dude, I'm not sure how I'm gonna scale. I'm doing these weekly calls with these athletes, but they can only do them on weekends because they can't do them during the week because they're college kids, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, did you ever think to ask them if they needed these calls? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, ask them because I guarantee that you're doing the calls for you, not for them. Because the reality of the situation is that if you have a really good plan, you're doing the video analysis and you're texting with your athletes back and forth on a regular basis, you don't need to get on a 1-hour call with every single one of your athletes every single week. That's just not true. And now he's able to scale and he'll probably hit $30,000 a month here in the next 6 months. Okay, so what is my actual example? If I was to go back, I would give people a hitting routine and a lifting routine. Okay, so I spent a bunch of time studying like different training and hitting philosophies. I was an absolute nerd. I am a training nerd still to this day. That's why I wear a Whoop, right? I'm always trying to optimize my stuff. And so I would go back and give them a hitting and a lifting routine. You don't have to give people a lifting routine, okay? That's something that a lot of people say. Be like, oh, I'm not comfortable giving people a lifting routine. It's like, well, then don't, right? Or if you only want to give people lifting, nutrition, sleep, stuff like that, like maybe you're a performance coach, then you don't have to do the skill, okay? What I'm trying to iterate and get across to you right now in this moment is that this model is very flexible and fits in to if you coach athletes and you want to do it online, this model will work for you, I promise. So any belief that you have right now that, oh, my sport is different, this won't work for me, get it out of your mind because it's not true and start paying attention and start actually trying to figure out how this could work for you instead of anchoring on the belief that it never could. Let's move on. Okay, I'm gonna do ongoing texting and calls as needed, right? As needed. Now, where a large majority of the accountability is gonna be is required weekly homework, okay? Part of that weekly homework, I'm gonna ask them to submit an at-bat for me to review, okay? And then I'm also gonna ask them to make sure that they're filling out their training plan on a daily basis. I can see all that in the app, right? So I can hold them accountable. And then I'm also gonna ask them about like their mental, emotional well-being, see if there's anything I need to change in the plan, things like that. Obviously, if you want help with this directly one-on-one, that's what we do inside of our program is we help you with that, okay? Marketing. This is one of the biggest problems that people have is they have no idea how to market themselves. You might be a really good coach. You might have just went through the program and you're like, Nick, totally get it. I'm a great coach. I don't need help with the program. How do I get people into my program? This is for you, okay? So first things first, with the online mentorship model, we're trying to be authentic, right? Because I put right here, coaches, not coaching, or coaches over coaching, right? What that means is we are trying to present ourselves on social media and create a brand for ourselves where people want to work with you because they like you and what you stand for, right? So I'm the person that gets up in front of the camera and speaks the message and educates the world on how the online coaching on how the online mentorship model works, right? And then you can either decide, do I like the way this guy goes about it or do I not? That's entirely up to you. But it's the same thing when it comes to you and marketing yourself, is you wanna be authentic, right? That's why I do these whiteboards. That's why I'm literally using an iPhone and this camera because for me, this is me, right? I'm kind of a minimalist. I'm wearing a plain black t-shirt, stuff like that. You can see that I have very clear, pillars in my content and what I believe and what I don't believe. That's exactly what you want to do. You want it to be authentic and people buy coaches, not coaching. Now, one of the most important things we need to understand is that there are 3 stages that we need to take people through in order to know us, like us, trust us, to do business with us because people do business with people that they know, like, and trust, okay? So at the top of the funnel, AKA we're trying to get people's attention. All we're trying to do is get the attention of the ideal athlete, of the one ideal athlete, and get them to follow our page, make them aware of who we are. Then we're making content specifically to build trust with those athletes, okay? That is quote unquote the middle of the funnel. Then from there, we're making content at the bottom of the funnel, which are direct asks telling people to reach out to us if they want to learn more about how they can work with us, right? What we specialize in is inbound marketing, okay? Inbound marketing. We don't want you to reach out to a bunch of athletes on social media and say, hey, do you want to buy my training program? No. No. You want these athletes to reach out to you and say, how can I work with you? And the way that we do that is by kind of giving them little Cheerios, right? First, we get their attention. Then we build their trust. Then we ask them to do something, right? Then we ask them to reach out to us, okay? We are not trying to just reach out to a million different people and play a volume game. I'm sure that could work, but you know, it's probably a little bit creepy, to be honest, right? I never wanted to do that, so I wanted to create a way to where I could get people reaching out to me, inbound marketing, right? So what that looks like is daily posting on social media, okay? Daily posting. If you're not willing to post daily, this probably isn't gonna work for you, okay? It's just plain and simple. Daily posting on social media, I would tell my playing story. Even now, when I tell my playing story, I get probably more views than the tactical stuff where I'm giving away a ton of sauce. You know what I mean? Like, I could probably charge thousands of dollars for this video if you actually take action on what I'm sharing with you right now, right? But this video will probably only get, you know, a couple hundred views, but my personal stories on Instagram, they get thousands of views because it's widely relatable, builds a lot of trust with people, okay? The number 3, proof/results, okay? Proof of my playing background, like me hitting homers, or my athletes hitting homers, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be consistent, I'm trying to build people's trust, and I'm trying to show people that it works, okay? And my playing story is going to serve largely as the top of the funnel. Maybe some of the results will as well, where they're gonna get a lot of people's attention. And then from there, I'm trying to build that trust with people, right? I'm trying to build that relationship through the phone by being, number 1, transparent and showing people that I can actually help them, this one athlete, if we go back to the top, okay? So that's marketing. Now, when it comes to sales, this is like a taboo word for a lot of sports coaches. I'm not a salesman, I'm just a coach. Well, understand that everything in life is sales, because sales is service, right? A lot of people have this terrible preconceived notion that sales is like, you know, forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do. No, that is not sales. That's manipulation, okay? Persuasion is definitely sales, right? We want somebody to act in their best interest, and if we're really actually that good of a coach and we're not trying to persuade people to work with us, we are being selfish. We're projecting our own insecurity of not wanting to hear no onto the other person and saying, I don't want to try and convince them to work with me. Like, that's insane, right? Because if you could really help them, then you should be trying to convince them to work with you, okay? So we gotta be good at sales. We gotta be good at sales if we wanna make $30,000 a month. If you don't wanna master sales, this is not gonna work for you, okay? If you don't wanna post daily, this is not gonna work for you. If you don't wanna train athletes through an online program, this is not gonna work for you, okay? If you're not gonna charge a premium price, this is not going to work for you. But if you are willing to do all these things, then it probably will, okay? So when it comes to the sales, the first thing we wanna do is qualify people. We wanna make sure that they're actually the athlete that we wanna work with. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can do this. Number 1, we can qualify them through an application, or number 2, we can qualify them by just strictly asking them questions directly on Instagram, okay? Through appointment setting, right? We gotta be able to take somebody who reaches out to us, because that's what we want. We want inbound messages on Instagram, and we want inbound applications, right? Those are the only 2 things that we want when it comes to leads. Inbound messages, inbound applications, okay? When it comes to the appointment setting, we're turning those inbound messages and applications into Zoom calls or phone calls with the athlete and their parents. If you try and sell the program strictly just to a parent just to the athlete without the parent there, and you charge $3,000 plus for an online coaching program, let me know how that goes. It's never gonna work, okay? You've gotta know how to get parents on the phone, right? And so when you get them on the phone, what we're trying to do is we're trying to serve with questions. We're leading with questions. Can I actually help this person? And the way that you know that is you're curious. You ask questions, you make no assumptions, and you figure out, where are you right now? Where do you want to go? what is that gap? If you can help them cross that gap, then you give them a presentation. You pitch your program. You say, hey, my program is the solution to this problem that you're facing right now. Do you mind if I share with you? Boom, you show them, boom, boom, boom. You pitch them the price. They say yes, awesome. We get them into the program. Sales is super easy when you keep in mind that you are serving the person on the other side of the screen. When you start getting selfish with it, that's when you're never gonna sell anything, right? You're gonna be way too needy. We don't wanna be needy. Okay, so if I was to start over, I would just strictly DM set, right? AKA get people inbound messaging me on Instagram and then book calls with them and their parents, right? I would message them back and forth, make sure they're the right fit, yada, yada, yada. And then once I believe that they're the right fit, I'd offer them to a call with them and their parents, get them on Zoom, and then I'm literally just seeing if I can help. And if I think that I can, I'm gonna say, here's my program. I think it would be great for you. I'm gonna mentor your son for the next 6 months. The total investment is gonna be $3,000, right? And they're probably gonna say yes because it's only $500 a month and they pay way more for way less right now, right? It's gonna be an absolute steal. And I truly believe that, okay? So, systems. Now, when it comes to systems, a lot of people get overwhelmed. They say, oh, I'm not a tech person. That's exactly why they created these online softwares that make it easy for you, right? They make them basically coach-proof, so that way you can actually use these online softwares, okay? So, what these softwares are, what you're gonna need, number one, a training platform, and all these can be integrated in one if you have a good one. We have a partnership with a platform called Connect, really, really good. We want a training platform, right? To where it can host all of your drill videos. They can send videos back and forth. They can do video analysis through that training platform, right? You can also do scheduling through this training platform, even for your in-person sessions, right? If you do something hybrid, right? Or just for like setting up like your sales calls, right? You need a scheduling software for that. Then you need to be able to take payments. A lot of coaches right now are doing Venmo, Cash App. The tracking on that is terrible, right? What happens if somebody comes to your session, then you got to flag them down, ask them to Venmo you, ask them to Cash App you. Oh, I forgot cash this time. Oh no, don't worry about it, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You need a payment processor with their card on file that automatically charges them, right? Because if you want to make $30,000 a month, you want to run it like a business, then you got to treat it like a business, okay? Yes, we are trying to serve people, but if you actually want to make money, you actually want to do this full time, you actually want to live a life of freedom, this is what's required, okay? Then from there, tracking. Obviously, like I said, tracking, this can all kind of be integrated with one thing, but if you don't know your numbers and you don't have everything in front of you showing you exactly what's going on inside of your business, then whenever there's a problem, you're just guessing, right? You're just guessing at what the problem is. You need the numbers to actually show you what's actually going on, okay? So examples, like I said, the Connect platform, huge fan of Connect. Shout out Alec if you're watching this, probably not. And then Stripe for payment processing. I'm pretty sure it can integrate with Connect now. And then Calendly for the calendar software. So this is the online mentorship model, and we've used this obviously to help a bunch of people make over $30,000 a month. Literally dozens make over $10,000 a month, coaching athletes all online across a bunch of different sports: baseball, softball, football, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, combat sports, whatever it is, you name it. If you coach athletes, we could probably help you, right? Obviously, there are some qualifications. If you want to work with us, you could go ahead, check out the link in the description if you want to learn more about working with us inside of our program, Remote Training University. If you just want to continue to watch these YouTube videos for free, that's totally cool. I'm fine either way. My name's Nick. Hopefully you got a ton of value out of this. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.